You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
What sorority do you belong to?
Alpha Delta Theta.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, sort of. To an extent. Kind of like have your preconceived notions of what the Sewanee social scene is like, but I didn't like really see what it was like until I got here.
I did a summer program for high school students called Sewanee Environmental Institute, and so I had my idea of what social, life at Sewanee was as a high schooler, and in the summer. But I was pretty naive to the drinking culture, and so coming in was kind of a shock for me. Especially I did pre-orientation, so that was like, whoa, what's going on? So I would say no, honestly, because I had such a different idea of what it was. But fairly negatively. I don't know. Seems fragmented, lots of different things going on, and it felt like it took a while for me to find my groove, or find my people. Like freshman year, I didn't really find my people quickly. So
What do you mean by fragmented?
like you're either doing this thing or you're doing this thing. It feels like there's not a lot of crossover. There's not a lot even communication. Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, that's literally, I totally agree with what you're saying. Kind of like that separation. It's you're either in one place or another, you're a part of one thing or another. You can't really do both, which kind of sucks. So.
Does that only extend to the weekend, or do you feel that just every day at Sewanee?
I would say every day, kind of, because some people just don't feel like Sewanee's fun without Wacky Wednesday or the parties on Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays. It's like, they're like, oh yeah, it's Sunday, I gotta do my homework now. It's like, why did you do your homework?
Yeah, I would agree. There's quite a routine to it, but is, I don't know, not always what I want to do. I want to be doing.
It's still hard a little bit because my friends and I, we're essentially the same people. We get along very well, but some things I don't always like to go out and party. I have fun at parties and stuff like that, but I also like to go to more chill out events like lectures or something like that when we have those. So finding my place here, I feel like it was easy, but also still there's still a lot of work for me to do to actually fully feel like I've committed myself and found myself in this place.
Yeah. I did very different things freshman year, so I was really involved in the choir, and that took a lot of my time. And so I met people through that, and then I did end up rushing, and so that was really where I realized, like, okay, here are people that I agree with and have fun with, and that sort of change happened my spring semester. But then as I got more involved in things that I cared about and I valued, like lecture, like I would, not that I met people at lectures, but I started doing things that were meaningful to me, and I just felt more at home, I would say, and then the social thing kind of came along with that, but it took some growing pains, I would say, and I know that it's a very similar sentiment around people that I know. Like we bonded over the fact that we didn't feel like we fit in well in the beginning. I find that I'm involved with the Sewanee outing program, and that's like kind of an easy out, because in my mind, like if you don't enjoy the outdoors, like it feels like there isn't as much to do. Not even you don't enjoy the outdoors, but it can be hard to get involved in that program specifically. It's even hard for me, just having had my foot in the door since freshman year. Anyways, I think it is easy for me to find people to do other things with me,
Mhm.
and yet it always comes back to drinking. So like that group of people that I have still like not even parties, just like turns to that as like the fun activity. And so I actually went home last weekend because I didn't want to be here for spring party because I'm just not in that mindset right now.
Yeah.
And it felt like I kept having these thoughts like, am I not fun? Like what's happening? Like am I turning into an old lady, or like just the idea that I wasn't doing what other people were doing to have fun was kind of a stretching moment for me.
Yeah, I kind of have that same problem too. My thing is like, if my friends don't want to go, I don't want to go. Like, I don't like going places by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like I have to be around people. I don't like walking in somewhere by myself. I mean, I'll do it, but it's like awkward for me. So I do prefer like have my best friends by my side. But if they don't want to go, I just end up not going.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like if I wanted to go to an activity and they don't want to go, I'm not gonna go out with them. Like if they don't want to go, if they want to go out to Wacky Wednesday and I wanted to go to this event on Wednesday, I'm not going to Wacky Wednesday. I'm gonna sit in my bed and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Thank you.
protesting.
When will you stop your friend from drinking, or when do you
Yes.
stop yourself from drinking?
Your friend.
Okay.
What I do is when I see that they're starting to kind of drink too much, I'll tell them, I'll be like, hey, y'all need to chill out. Sometimes, they don't listen because at the end of the day, like, they're adults, they're going to do what they want to do. But I mean, if I see that they're doing too much when it's gotten too much, I'm like, okay, like, you're done. There's been instances where I've taken my friends home. I'm like, you're done. This is not okay. You need to go to your bed. So I'll be the one to like step in and tell them like, this is not safe for you, and I'm not comfortable, so we're gonna go home.
Yeah, I find that I'm not, as I've gotten older, I'm not as like aware of what people are doing. They're kind of drinking with other friends, or so I'm not as involved with that as I was definitely freshman year. But it still happens. Like in no way is it like think we're all 21 and we're smarter about how we drink, or it's still prevalent. And anyways, I think it's when I see chugging or really like not even the games, but just like getting aggressive about it. Like it feels like, okay, a competition, like we need to. So I think that's normally when I don't even say anything directly. I make a joke about it. I'm like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, you're being a little. So I think it would be better to be a little bit more direct, and I think that's really nice. Or not even nice, but like important that you do that and really step in.
Take them home.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing good happens when you're blackout. I mean, I've never been blackout, but I can tell like nothing good ever happens. I'll give them water, find some water, get them some water, and then I'll start walking them back to their rooms, to their designated places. I'm like, you don't need to go out. You're not gonna remember this. It's time to bed. Go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely encourage people to go to bed too. I haven't had too many friends who have been blackout around me. I don't know if it's like a change in social scene or what, but I think the times I have, I've really just gotten like mad. Like I'm like, you need to go to bed now, like, and just gotten kind of overwhelmed by their situation, if that makes sense. And so I'm definitely try to be there for them, and if they're not in this state to take care of themselves, be there. But yeah.
Question.
Yes.
What signs indicate to you that someone is either blackout or heading in that manner? And if you don't feel like you can name them, do you think you can actually tell when someone's blacked out if they're not your close friend?
Mm.
It's like a 2-part question.
I feel like when it's to the point where they're not able to walk straight, that's when I kind of say like, okay, there's definitely something like you cannot be out if you're not able to walk in a straight line. Well, like not even a straight line. Like if you're like hanging on people all the time, trying to get your balance, stuff like that, it's definitely a sign that you're like not capable of taking care of yourself. Other than that, like I kind of know with my if people I'm close to, I can tell like when they're at the point of blackout.
Yeah, I see, decision making changes or like personality shifts to some extent with my close friends, but then I feel like I can see it even on some nights of heavy drinking, at the party weekends when people are blackout, the like glaze in their eyes. It's just, I feel like it's pretty stark, the difference, especially when you're not drinking very much and you're just kind of there. Yeah.
So I guess one time, just thinking about like males intervening, it's kind of hard because there was a time when one of my friends, she had her boyfriend pick her up because like she called him trying to get him to come get her because she was ready to go, and so he came and picked her up and like she was leaning on him. She was heavily intoxicated, and someone stopped him and was talking to her and asked her if she was okay. And he's like, she's fine, I'm just taking her back to her room. And the girl was very hostile with him and was like, no, I asked her, is she fine? And like she told him, yeah, this is my boyfriend, okay? So it is kind of hard being a male bystander, trying to intervene and help because you have these people approaching you being hostile, thinking that you have the wrong intentions, even if you don't.
I don't go out. I'm here for the support. I would imagine it would be hard too. Just like listening to Keisha's story, it sounds like something that happens across board. But also, I think it would be hard for guys to stand up against their fellow friends or their fellow frat mates or whatever. But yeah, never seen that in action. So, are there male bystanders?
Yeah, there are. First time I was on Bacchus, actually, I was riding on Bacchus. My friends were on Bacchus, and there was 2 males. The girl they were taking home was one of my friends. I knew that she had a problem with drinking over her limit. There have been times where I had to take her home, and you could tell that they didn't have bad intentions because the awkward look on their face is they're like, we need to get her home. She can't walk by herself, but like we also don't want this to look as bad as it's looking because they're basically like having to drag her home because she can't walk. And I'm like, yo, I know who that girl is. And I know those guys don't have a bad intention. I just know she can't walk right now. So I was like, let's switch out with them. Let them get on Bacchus, and we'll take her home. We got out, talked to them. They're like, yeah, we just want to get her home, but like, we didn't know where she lived, and also we didn't like want this to look bad because we know it's like 2 guys, and she's not gonna remember this. I'm like, yeah, but she's gonna remember 2 guys walking her home. But if something happens, you're gonna be blamed for it. We're like, we got you. We'll take her home. We walked her home. Her boyfriend was there, also extremely drunk. Every sound in my head was like, don't leave her with him either. But they were staying together. We couldn't do anything about that. But we got her home. She was safe. We thanked the 2 guys. And it was all fine. Right? But I knew that every moment they were walking, they were just thinking like, if anybody sees this, they're going to think that we are about to rape her. So it was like, I recognize the fact that they wanted to just do the right thing. Mm-hmm. So I was able to be like, hey, we got you. Thank you. Right? But I don't know if every guy has that person that's not going to accuse them of being a rapist, So like there definitely are male bystanders. I definitely appreciate them. But it's also like a fine line to walk where you might just need to take your female friend with you or just send her to do it. Because in this day and age, I don't know if you can be a male bystander with the female. You might just need to be the male bystander for the males.
Yeah, I mean, I also have a positive story of a friend freshman year bringing me home I was not blackout, but I was, throwing up. So he was, there in more of a supportive role than he needed to be. But I think that's really impactful that you did that for that, pair of guys you said. Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely something to think about when you're out. Yeah, that's like the question I'm trying to answer. I live in the Healthy Hut right now, and they've been doing this alternate space series. I've not done it much this semester, but they told me about it when I got here from being abroad last semester. And the intention behind it, I think, is really, it's on Thursday nights, so it would be like on a night like tonight, which I was very surprised that so much was going on. I don't know why I was, but so, I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's providing the spaces or if it's someone. I was chatting with like a random group of people on campus about how we're getting Thompson Union turned into a student union and having that space to like hang out. And I was with a faculty member and they were like, yeah, I even had that as, Dr. McGrath was saying that she even had this. Yeah. She even had that in college. And so just having, I don't know, places at night, like that's the thing, is even I, I'm not gonna go out on Brakefield at night, like I'm not gonna be outside really. And we have like the greenhouse or these theme houses, but they're not that approachable. There's still these little groups of people that are friends. Anyways, I think that's something that, I don't know if you, more of the discussion based.
I definitely agree, like more social spaces, but at the same time, it's hard to try to get people to do certain things. I mean, especially with freshmen, we're in college now, we're adults away from our parents, so it's kind of like people have this assumption that the college experience, go out, drink, have fun. It's just kind of like a live and learn kind of thing. You learn the hard way. It's just we're hard-headed individuals. I think, like you were saying, the social spaces definitely, because there are people that don't want to go out, but they feel like there's nothing else to do, so I'm gonna go out. Having movie nights, different movie nights would be something like I would be down for on any given night. A night at SNU versus a movie night. I'm gonna go watch. I'll go watch the movie.
Competition.
Me too.
What are you watching? But
A Star is Born. That was
for the male bystanders piece, that's just something that's gonna be hard. Like, I guess it's just so hard to do. I mean, you can't do anything about it. People are gonna have their perceptions of how things are, but I guess the biggest thing for males to understand is like, if you know what you're doing and you know you're doing the right thing, don't let someone else kind of dictate that or make you feel like you're not capable, because at the end of the day, if a male bystander is the only bystander around and he feels like he cannot help this woman because people are going to think he's going to rape her, then this woman might not get raped, but she might lose her life, or she might get raped. She might actually get raped. So this just kind of getting guys to understand that, yeah, it's hard being a male bystander. It's going to be scary being a male bystander because you don't know what people are going to say to you. But I mean, you got to take the hard stuff and do what you know is right. And if that is helping a woman that is not capable of taking care of herself, then you do it. You should, if someone went up to a guy and was like saying that he had the wrong intentions, the guy should be like, okay, then just come with me and watch me put her to bed, and then I'll leave.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, but I can start from the first part of your question, and I think like getting people not to drink as much will be hard because like it's really ingrained in a lot of our social systems, aka like Greek life is a big part of our social, like our the way we socialize at Sewanee, and so you would need the buy-in for Greek organizations to have actual dry events, and like if the fitting in part, like the sense of belonging, like you need to start, I don't know, modeling like what good friendships look like for first year students when they come in. And so like, what does that mean to you, and what are values that you have that you want to hold on to even as you grow, because like college is, you change throughout your experience in college in one form or another. And so I think like those are lessons that you've ingrained as early as your first year. Even when you go out with your friends and you don't drink, you'll still be a person who doesn't drink. I also don't think drinking is the issue. It's like when you don't drink responsibly. Like everywhere you go, like people have happy hours at work, but people don't get wasted at their happy hours. They go have a glass or two, and they still socialize in a professional / social setting. And so maybe we start learning that as early as like college. Obviously, if you're not 21, please don't drink. But I'm not endorsing underage drinking. But I'm just saying, if you're gonna drink, learn to drink responsibly. I have seen people lose their jobs because they overdrink during happy hour or like something that's social that you're. And then the other part, like with male bystanders, it's like Keisha said, it's gonna be hard. Like it will be, but I don't know. I think like Dr. Gray did a case with the way because she was training us, and we were reading the case, and we were like, damn, definitely this guy did it, but he was the bystander. He just did it in a weird way. So maybe if we had like actual bystander intervention methods being offered to everyone, but especially like guys who want to be bystanders, and just because of like your identity, it's harder for you to be a bystander at that moment. You can learn different ways to go about being a bystander where you're not putting yourself in danger by wanting to help someone else who might be at risk. And so, yeah, it's hard. It's not gonna be easy.
My name is Chris Hornsby, and I'm the director of Bacchus. Bacchus is a student-run organization that has a van service that goes out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. And our first priority is to prevent sexual assault and drinking and driving. So all the drivers, and we have pro-social bystanders that sit in the vans, are trained in bystander intervention training so that they can assess risky situations and try to prevent negative outcomes. Then we also are just a way for students to get from parties back to their dorms or from one party to another, but that's really our secondary goal. So the driver and bystander will go to the police station and sign in there and get the keys to the vans, and then they breathalyze one another to make sure that they're both sober. And we always have our drivers and bystanders do that in case something were to happen, if there was an accident or a student got injured by one of the vans. If one of the drivers or bystanders happened to be even slightly intoxicated, that would be really, really bad for the program if they didn't blow a 0-0. So we always make sure they blow a 0-0. Then they go and get the vans, and they'll drive usually from 9 to 2 in the morning. And in terms of what happens during that time, it's kind of unpredictable. In an uneventful shift, the drivers and bystanders will just take people from place to place, and that's really all. But every now and then, because of the high consumption of alcohol, there will be pretty dangerous or unpredictable situations where people are behaving irrationally and or not unable to walk around on their own and need physical assistance from the drivers and the bystanders. I think there's a really big misconception about Bacchus's purpose, which I stated at the beginning of this interview, that its primary purpose is to prevent drinking and driving and to prevent sexual assault. And our secondary purpose is to be a form of transportation for students. So in terms of comparing us to, say, Uber or a taxi, we're different because Ubers and taxis don't have that first intention of preventing drinking and driving and preventing sexual assault. And I think a lot of students don't understand that. And so they don't understand what the drivers and bystanders have been trained in, and they're also less aware about the purpose of Bacchus, and when they perhaps make complaints or have different expectations about what Bacchus should be doing from the actual Bacchus program, that can lead to some differences in understanding. But that was one of the reasons that Lala and I, who's the co-director of the program, currently wrote an article that we submitted to the Sewanee Purple about Bacchus so that we could let people know a little bit more about the program and what our goals are. So that's really on the honor code. We used to have the police officers breathalyze the bystanders and drivers before and after their shifts, and now we only have drivers and bystanders breathalyzing before their shifts. But we don't really have the kind of human power to have that oversight over everyone. We really have to be trusting of the drivers and bystanders that they participate in the Bacchus program for good intentions and are willing to follow those intentions through. Well, sometimes I feel like Bacchus is almost like a scared straight experience or a DARE experience like they had in middle school for drug education and awareness. Because when you are a sober witness to the kind of drinking that happens on campus, it really changes your opinion and perspective on binge drinking and responsible drinking, because you see firsthand how destructive it can be, not only to individuals but also to the community at large. So there are very risky and harmful behaviors that individuals engage in that end up having a really negative effect on the place that we live and the way that we try and be in community with each other. I mean, I've had my van actually attacked by people that were unhappy with the way that I asked them not to use certain words in the van, and didn't like the behavior that they were expressing in the van because I felt that it was extremely offensive and they weren't responding well to it. So in terms of the perspective that Bacchus drivers and bystanders get, I think that's one way that affects the actual employees' perspectives on responsible drinking. But in terms of changing actual individuals' behaviors on a larger scale, I think it starts really at home, at the homes that people are coming from, and I think parents need to do a better job of exhibiting responsible drinking and talking to their children about responsible drinking. And I also think that we need more role models within the Sewanee community about what responsible drinking looks like. And that might even be social drinking with professors and faculty and staff, but because of our social host policy rules, it's very hard to do anything like that. And so when I might be able to drink a glass of wine with a professor who's a close mentor to me and see, okay, here's another adult engaging in a responsible way with alcohol, that's a really positive influence on me. But if the only other alcohol consumption I see is at parties and in dorm rooms, then of course I'm going to replicate that behavior that I see because I don't have other positive role models to counteract those images. So I think Sewanee as a community needs to change the way it talks and thinks about drinking, away from, rather than talking about how we need to stop binge drinking, thinking about how to make opportunities for people to drink responsibly. Social host policy is made for any organization that's intending to invite members of the campus into a building, or if they're a theme house or a fraternity or a sorority, then into that house. And there are certain rules that you have to abide by, like if you are expecting more than 50 people to come and it's BYOB, then you have to hire a police officer, which costs $50 an hour. Some organizations can't afford to do that. There are other rules, like earlier in the year, an organization that I'm a part of was trying to do a bring your own wine bottle bar with faculty and staff, and we would have had to hire a bartender for that. We would have had to hire a bartender just so that faculty and staff could bring a bottle of wine to share with students. And there's a serious financial restriction in terms of our ability to do that as an organization because we have limited budgets. But that's one scenario where we could have had an opportunity for faculty and staff and students to interact and drink responsibly, and it was made impossible. Well, not impossible, but unlikely because of the social host policy. So I think because of the nature of most sexual assault cases being men inflicting sexual assault on women, it's important to be conscious of that when it comes to being a pro-social bystander as a male. I think men should actually absolutely be trained in pro-social bystanding, especially because they're in a position of power and privilege with other men, that they are more likely to be able to have an impact on the outcome of a situation if they're willing to intervene in a scenario where perhaps one of their friends is going to possibly sexually assault someone. They have their like frontline defense is your social group of friends. So that's really important, but like I said, men need to be conscious of the way that they're perceived in our community. And so, for example, I've been walking home at night with one of my friends who's a woman, and somebody stopped me and asked, "Hey, are you guys both okay?" And my first response in my head was, well, what are you trying to say about me? But I caught that because I know it's one, silly to respond like that. That's just my ego talking. But also, it's really a positive sign to see another man calling out another man and just making sure that everything's okay. But I think it would always be good if to never be a man, a relatively sober man, alone with a very drunk woman trying to take her home. Even if your intentions are good, take another woman with you, or call Bacchus, or call a proctor. Get someone to help you, because it will just make that whole process easier. And we really want to avoid false accusations. And I don't think those are a huge issue on campus, but if we can avoid those, that'd be best.
Oh, I'm not good with these. Is like 0.15 or something? Is that super low or super high?
0.08.
Yes.
Yeah, 0.08.
0.02.
No, this is so embarrassing. Is it 0.5 something? 0.6 something?
False.
Yes.
That is I have no limit. That is a false statement.
I think that's false. We all have a limit. Because we're human.
Guides.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Open container. I don't know. I don't know.
University policies,
Yes.
the EQB guide, and the student handbook. That is student handbook. I'm not sure. I know the EQB guide does it.
I think for public spaces is no open containers, right?
Yeah, but what two guides?
EQB,
Okay, that's one.
Amnesty. I feel like I knew this, but I only knew it my
I
freshman.
mean, like, the EQB has the amnesty policy, but the social host policy as well details like alcohol in public
Social
places.
host?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm not in Greek life, so like I wouldn't even. Social host policy.
It applies to theme
The-
houses.
Yeah,
too.
I know, but we only know like you need a cop. Okay, you know what? This sounds embarrassing. It's EQB and the social host policy.
Okay. So where are the EQB guides located?
On the Sewanee website.
Yes. Where is the EQB guide located?
Online.
Where are they located?
If you are on the Sewanee website and you go to the provost section, that has the EQB guide because it comes from her office. And then the dean of student life.
So what are 3 signs of impairment?
Slurred speech.
Stumbling,
Motor coordination.
motor
function. And
delayed reaction.
vomiting. Yes.
Yes.
Slurred words, uncontrolled behavior, and I don't know. Inability to walk straight.
Slurring.
Is that the word? What your
Slurred
words?
speech.
Slurred speech. Lack of cognitive control. You said impairment, and I don't want to say out of character because then it's always hard to people are multidimensional. And I don't believe people have one character. I don't know. I want to say decision making, but I also can't yeah, I'll stick with decision making even though I am conflicted with it.
What is Bacchus? And what is Bacchus?
Bacchus is the driving service that picks up.
A van service.
Sober
Driving service.
Yes.
Bacchus is a student-run, student-organized bus that drives around campus, picking up and taking anyone home who needs to be taken home. There's a component of the bystander that watches out for behavior that is suspect.
Because Bacchus is a student-run school van, a student-run organization that offers services throughout the weekend, meaning that our weekends start on Thursday, in the form of a van, and the vans have drivers and bystanders. And the goal for Bacchus is to also not just transport students, but also to hopefully intervene before sexual assault or misconduct happens. So I guess I would summarize it as their goal is to reduce the cases for sexual misconduct and sexual assault.